Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. Bisexual people of Reddit. What are the biggest differences between having a relationship with a man and with a woman? With most of the women I dated, gift acts of kindness were an everyday thing. Like, I'd make an extra stop for something they liked and it wouldn't be a big deal to them. Every single guy I have dated has lost their minds over the little things. When my husband and I first started dating, I stopped and got him a slushie while I got gas. Not even an extra stop. I just set it in front of him at his apartment and you'd have thought it was the holy grail. When my wife was my girlfriend, she worked at Edible Arrangements. When she's come over to my place after work, she's bring me free bags of fresh fruit and smoothies. My girlfriend came with smoothies. I mean, come on. My girlfriend came with smoothies. Thank you for the tip. I'll have to give it a try. Instructions unclear. D stuck in blender. My GF walks around naked more than my ex-BF. Most guys feel awkward having their parts dangling in the breeze, even if it's with someone who has seen them before. Right. Been with my husband for 10 years. He still cups his junk whenever he's naked. Meanwhile, mine likes to randomly enter the room and windmill his D at me. As a man, men who've only dated women before are really easy to impress. I bought my ex dinner a few times and he just about lost his mind because no one had done that for him before. I've heard lesbians say the same thing about women. So I think it's more of a societal expectation thing than anything else. The whole who buys dinner debate still just blows my entire mind. Me and my BF just switch off. If we can remember who paid last Halloween, we don't go out that often. And it makes it all so much easier to deal with. Nobody really pays more than the other and there isn't some big to do about who's supposed to buy. My partner and I just have an unspoken whoever picks the place pays rule. It works out pretty well. Hey babe, wanna go out for dinner tonight? Sure. Where you wanna go? Up to you. Anywhere you want. Oh okay cool. Hey wait a minute. IDK. I've been myself my entire life. Don't worry, you're just on stand B. Just to come up with these arbitrary puns? I could share clothes with my girlfriend. Now I just steal my male fiance's clothes. I cannot tell you how elated I was when I opened up my new boyfriend's closet and found it filled with flannels. I felt so at home. I bought my wife men's sweatpants for Christmas one year and at first she was upset that I got her big men's sweatpants. Then she wore them and they are now her favorite because they are so comfy. And they have deep pockets. The biggest gender-based difference I've experienced is how other people look at treat your relationship. Yeah this. Hetero I can walk around all day holding hands. Occasional kiss. No big deal. Same gender and even holding hands is suddenly an invite for catcalls. Verbal abuse and the always terrifying shouts out of moving cars. Social expectations are totally different. Hetero and people can't help but ask about weddings and kids before they even know you. Homo and it's probably a phase. Practically no recognition that your partner is even significant to you. That's changing though. Getting better bit by bit emo. Homo and it's probably a phase. Practically no recognition that your partner is even significant to you. This is so true. When my straight friends enter a relationship everyone is like oh wow you gonna move in? Gonna get married? Can you imagine what your kids look like? Meanwhile when I'm in a relationship it's treated like a quirky story. Careful what you wish for. But I completely understand. My sister is lesbian and her relationships are treated completely differently to mine in exactly the same way you've experienced. Although part of it is definitely the culture of where we live, and it's getting better over the years for sure. You know the whole lesbian thing? Totally true. I get so close so fast with other women. While for men it took me 3 years to get my now husband warmed up to the idea of marriage. With my ex-girlfriend before him, she was ready to settle down and get married after like 2 months. Otherwise I'd say I actually do prefer relationships with women. But they can get more intense than relationships I've had with men. But that's not always a good thing. You know the whole lesbian thing? No I do not. What is the whole lesbian thing? The common joke is what do lesbians bring on the first date? A U-Haul. Making fun of the fact that lesbians often jump into commitment. Second date. The joke is they bring a moving truck on the second date. From my experience at least, WLW relationships tend to move faster. I can't explain it, like when I was with my ex we were so ride or die since day one. Saying I love you after less than a month together. Very intense overall. Also unfortunately, sometimes you get to realize how much bias and prejudice your friends and family might secretly hold. With men, I never had something like that. There were a lot more downtime, I guess. Also no fear about having to go out while holding hands or introducing to the family. Although, aside from a few things, I think it's very different overall because people are different, you know? Like my ex was very extroverted and my BF is very introverted. So the dynamic changes because of that too. Isn't it a stereotype that two women who are in a relationship move in together almost right away? Yup, you whole lesbians. Apologies if this is a negative term for anyone. In my LGBTQ community people will self-reference this way and find the stereotype funny. What do lesbians do on their second date? They rent a U-Haul. I actually have a problem finding women to talk to because they move way too quickly. I move slow no matter who I'm with. And every woman I've started to date has tried to demand we immediately start a serious, committed relationship despite a lot of them being married with children at the time. I'm expected to let them have a relationship with a guy and have a family and a totally separate life. But I have to just sit at home and wait on them and answer every single text within minutes. Man, rural areas are bullshit. I'm a B dude. Men, more straightforward, less drama, less head games. Can be really nice, but also not as exciting. Women, less straightforward, more drama, but much bigger emotional payoff when things so work out. Painting with an extremely broad brush here. After having dated several people of both genders, I've had drama Y guys and straightforward girls as well. Some B people think that being with your own gender tends to be more enjoyable sexually, because they know what to do already. But I've found that being with the opposite gender is just as enjoyable. With communication and a modicum of practice, I ended up marrying a woman. I'm a bisexual woman and I can thoroughly second this. What do you mean by bigger emotional payoff? As a dude who dates other dudes, a lot of dudes aren't emotionally there. I've found my female friends to be more empathetic than the guys I was trying to have a relationship with. LOL. If I'm with a guy, I can hold hands with him and people will bet him he's my boyfriend. If I'm with a woman, I can hold hands with her and people will bet him she's my sister. Bonus points for a guy asking if he can join in whenever you introduce a woman as your girlfriend. Met this B girl in college who told me about how a guy we both were acquainted with said that's kinda sexy. Guys like that. When she told him she was B, we referred to him as guys like that for the rest of the year, when he wasn't in earshot. Like, dude, it's her sexuality. It's not about whether or not guys like it, lol. This is the reason I refuse to go to straight clubs. I can't dance with my GF without some dude trying to get between her and I to join. As a B girl, the biggest difference is women are usually more emotionally invested but dramatic. Guys are usually laid back and fun but not as involved. Can you expand on what you mean by involved? Honestly curious. Well, from my personal experience with guys, it's usually more physical or romantically involved than emotionally. It's probably due to the stereotypes that guys shouldn't be emotional, or is just my experience. I'm sure some guys are emotionally great though. You know, some guys are just less emotional and that's not inherently a bad thing. It's true there are those who need to pretend so they seem more resilient, but honestly, for some of us it's nothing to do with what we are taught to believe or forced to act. We are just less burdened by emotions than others. My ex-GF used to bet I'm repressing feelings and emotions just cause I don't feel the same way as her about certain things. To have someone feel sorry for you when you're not even feeling sorry for yourself is frustrating and felt condescending to me, regardless of how genuine she was being about it. I've dated more women than men, but both of the guys were way easier and more direct than any of the women were. Sex with a guy is easier to get started. Literally, you can be playing video games on the couch and suddenly you're both horny and going for it. Women need more prep time. Generally, it's almost never 0-100 in a flash. It's slower to get started and longer to reach the finish. But in my opinion, it is more satisfying when you both get there. Culturally it is easier to date women as it isn't immediately seen as taboo by most people. Almost nobody will bat an eye if you kiss as hetero in public, but you'll get a look or two if you're the same gender. These have been my experiences and in no way do I think it is universal. Just the folks that have been nice enough to date me. OMG yes, I am great at flirting with women but terrible at keeping romantic relationships with them. I'm female. Because after the initial sexy times I'm so shy about re-initiating, it tends to just settle back into a close, flirty friendship pattern. Whereas with men I can just start sending signals and they help hit the gas. I would love to know, but I am a bisexual that never dated anyone before. Relatable. We cast the widest net, but still failed. And yet, everyone still fears that you're going to date them, even though you've never dated anyone and probably never will. I'm a small human, and when I date women they're mostly my size. But men are usually at least 6 inches taller and have 50 pounds on me. There are a lot of physical differences with cuddling and sex with partners of different sizes. I love that men can pick me up when I want them to, and that I get to feel tiny and safe with men I trust. With women, it's more equal, so we switch back and forth between being the cuddler and the cuddly. Also with women, we usually take turns getting attention and orgasming during sex, whereas with men it's more likely to be just one effort. Neither men nor women can get me off though. That I have to do myself. Dr. Ruth, the sex doc, has some good books about teaching someone you are with how to pleasure you, and also about not masturbating for a while so you become sensitive to someone else. I think the experience is going to be much different for a B dude as opposed to a B chick. Straight girls wouldn't date me cause they thought I'd leave them for a guy. Gay guys wouldn't date me cause they thought I'd leave them for a girl. Took too long to scroll down for this. Some of us gay guys are intimidated by that kind of stuff. Be out and proud as B. Let people sort themselves out of your dating pool. Just off the top of my head, and noting that everyone is different, there's far more variation between people than between genders. I'm an independent person by nature and I tend to take charge. When I'm changing attire and my boyfriend is standing off to the side, we get weird looks. No one blinks if my girlfriend is standing there. Women do more housework without being asked. You have to task manage guys more. My current boyfriend is not like this at all. Fortunately, women are more cautious about personal safety. A lot of them, won't go on walks alone in the dark. I'm a taller woman. 5'8", 172 cm, and I've done a lot of solo travel, so I'm a lot less cautious than my girlfriends, and sometimes I have to remind myself to be more mindful of their concerns. Even tomboyish women have more elaborate grooming routines compared to most guys. I've had to talk numerous boyfriends out of 3-in-1 body wash, shampoo, conditioner. Women tend to smell really nice, but honestly, people of all genders are gross, clean, messy, kinky, loud, absent-minded, annoying, brilliant and lovable. You are a hero from saving those poor things from the clutches of 3-1s. Be woman here. My relationships with women have always been more emotionally rewarding, as the girls I've known tend to be more open about their emotions, so I'm not left guessing where we are at. Only drawback is homophobic people judging the relationship. My relationships with guys have been less deep sadly, even though I've tried. It feels like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone, trying to get the guys I've known to just be direct about what they want, leading me to think I have better luck and happiness with other women rather than men, even though I find them just as attractive as women. I'm also not a fan of gender roles and feel far more pressured dating a guy to be submissive and passive, and I'm neither of those things. It's a bummer. It makes me realize why so many people, even B people, think dating people of their own gender is just easier. I once asked my straight friend about his relationship and I took his advice to heart. He also asked me about being gay. I am bi but identify as gay. Here is the summary of our response. In my hetero relationship, my wife is all the things I am not. She is sensitive, deep, thoughtful, loving, caring, and completes me in ways I can't complete myself. My response: my boyfriends amplify my weak areas, making me more stronger, picking me up when I need it, and are great at getting me to push myself in my career, life, and overall goals. We are friends and lovers, and are more direct about our feelings and desires. I thought both were amazing because one is about the opposite and one is about the same just more. One is about filling in the gaps in personality, the other about amplifying what's already there. That's great, but sadly hetero relationships aren't that simple with everyone. I wish they were. It would be nice if women all had these negative and positive traits and their male partner had the opposites to complement and enrich them, but I haven't personally experienced that in my relationships with men. It's been the opposite. I have had more experience with male partners who think if I'm strong in a particular area, then there's no need for them to better themselves in that area because they have me for that. That is organization and future planning. I much prefer being with someone who doesn't make me feel like I'm babysitting them more in a dependent relationship, and sadly all the male-female relationships I have had feel that way. The female-female ones have just been that much simpler. Everything has felt more equal. Maybe it will change one day though. I would like it to. There are more differences between people of the same gender than between genders in my experience. I've had relationships with men, women and people somewhere in between, and I think there aren't huge differences between men and women like most being do. That being said, the majority of people I've dated have been queer in some way, so IDK if that changes things. Join our community Discord, link in description. To me, girls always tend to just be softer and smell nicer. I'm a B woman, and to be honest, the biggest difference for me is other people's perception of my relationship. When I date men, I don't get the same 21 questions from strangers and family members as to why I've made the choice to date that person. Also, once when I was dating a woman, my step-grandma asked me not to hold her hand or kiss her at Thanksgiving dinner so that it wouldn't confuse the children. They've never asked me to withhold public affection from male partners. I think I've dated more men than women long term because it was the path of least resistance. She was an I'm sorry. I found men are more direct but women show more non-sexual affection. Men are more predictable. Those quotations removed all meaning from that sentence. I actually was using it to put emphasis. I didn't mean to say that men are predictable while women aren't, but just that men are more predictable. Quotations aren't a great way to give emphasis because they have multiple meanings. It can confuse the reader and look kinda awkward. You're better off using italics. Use an asterisk either side of a word on Reddit, or bolding. 2 asterisks either side. More predictable. More predictable. In my experience, there's less jealousy having a relationship with a man. When I'm with a woman, they all seem so insecure about literally everyone equals. I guess the guys didn't feel threatened by my female friends. Straight guy here who has dated a couple of B women, and in my experience the B women were considerably less insecure than the straight women I have dated. Trying to work that one into your equation now. Being a bottom with men and wanting women to top you are two very different things. I tend to be able to insult guys and joke around with guys more than I can with girls. This is just my personal experience, it may just be the guys I've dated, but I've always wondered if other B women have experienced this. It's hard to put into words. Dating straight men as a woman, in my experience, means somehow so much more of the domestic labor, organizing, cleaning, cooking, etc., and emotional labor like initiating communication on issues, caring for day-to-day health and safety, that kind of stuff. It just seems to fall to you, the woman, or is just expected of you to do more, despite your conversations and communication with the man. In my experience, because of their gender, most men just miss an education on or awareness of these things in the way that women get it. Oftentimes you have to teach a man these things. With women it's so much more of an equal partnership, and way less need to convince them to work equally with you. In the end, in my personal experience, the men I've dated are more emotional labor and just plain more labor. Honestly, I feel like the smaller things are much more interesting here. Like who wants to cuddle more and how cuddling feels with people of different genders. Who do you feel more safe with, physically and emotionally? What are the small things that happen or that they do occasionally or in their day-to-day life? How do their gestures of love differ? How do they express their love? How does sex feel like for the different genders? Which one's more fun? Which one feels like they've got more to offer for you personally? Who gives better massages? Do they feel different? What chores do they prefer? Which useful skills do they display? How do they act around friends? How easily do they get jealous? It's all highly subjective, of course, but there's so much interesting stuff to dig into. These answers here so far seem kinda shallow. Trying to find the one biggest difference. The details are what makes it interesting. I'm a fabso. In general, women understand certain experiences of mine better. For example, they know what it's like to be catcalled or to be nervous alone with a man. I can just say that someone yelled at me while I was walking down the street and my partner probably would understand why that made me nervous and wouldn't judge me for it. If I'm dating a man, I have to explain why a situation made me uncomfortable and then he may or may not think my reaction was reasonable. With a man, yuck. With a woman, I gotta buy her shit first. Are you sure you're not ucking a prostitute? Because I haven't had to buy women something to get sex myself. Never had a girl break up with me for not being heterosexual enough, but have had multiple dudes break up with me for not being gay enough. As a guy, I found I get more excited for Christmas when I date guys rather than girls because it's a mutual want and desire. You get to share most things. Clothes and video games. Women are sweeter and love little gestures more than guys. Like when I do the dishes or make supper or clean the house, they get super appreciative. Guys just brush it off or don't notice those kind of efforts. Men have scratchy faces. With a hetero relationship, there are a lot of gender-based assumptions. The dude drives and kills the bugs. The woman remembers that they're out of milk and arranges social things. It's not always true, but even then it feels like you're breaking the norm and different. With gays there is much less expectations. Chores tend to be distributed evenly. Who kills the bugs is sometimes both or neither. I found the women that I've been with are a lot more capable of having grown-up conversations and communicating respectfully than the men. That being said, up until my now husband, all the guys I've dated were stereotypical D-heads and the girls were all pretty mature. I can't borrow my boyfriend's clothes and shoes as easily, lol. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.